The views and opinions of this broadcast do not reflect the views and opinions of Armed Media, New Productions and its affiliates. Enjoy the show.
I know that I'm exactly who I was meant to be. I'm a big fish in a small pond, got my days free and the nights long. I create my own reality. Who I am is fine with me. As famous as I wanna be. Hey everybody, it's Maria from What's the Story with Maria. How's it going? Oh my goodness, welcome to our show. Tonight is Tuesday, September 21st. We are broadcasting live from New York, and we will be in podcast in a few hours in Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio, courtesy of Armed Radio. Armed Radio is armeddigitalmedia.com, armedradioglobal.com. Jim Bell is our producer and engineer. He is in New Hampshire, Salem, New Hampshire. So we thank him. And we are so happy to be here. It is September, one of my favorite months. Actually, October is really my favorite month. But I got to say, September skies this year, oh my God, the weather has been so crazy. And today was so beautiful. The last few days have been so beautiful in New York. So we're very happy that that is coming. We have like a little shift in all that warm weather. And Leo, our sidekick, Leo Rodriguez, where is he?
I just got an alert. What's the Story with Maria is playing live on YouTube and on Facebook.
Oh my God, thank you, Leo. So yes, thank you for reminding us. We go live on my Facebook page, Leo's Facebook page, I believe. We go live on our YouTube channel, which is What's the Story with Maria. You can catch us there. And also Leo has archived every single one of our shows, which tonight would make 213.
Wow!
Every one of them Leo has archived, and they are there. So if you want to go back and look at a different episode, you are welcome to. Oh my God, look who's joined us. Lynn Portis
Genius
has joined us. And Lori Towers says, hey, Dimples and Leo. Lori Towers of Marker Park Radio, Jazz Just After Dark with her very handsome husband, John Piantaro. So they are here, and we're very excited. We have a wonderful.
Well, let's see those dimples. Let's see those dimples there. Ooh,
right there. Just they're not. You know, they're subtle. I keep them subtle. I don't want to go too crazy. You know who has big dimples though? Senator Mesa. Have you ever said she's notorious for her dimples?
Especially when she has her cheeky smile. Mm-hmm.
Yes, which, that's what she's known for, her cheeky smile. So
that's the one thing that Miss Senator Judy and I have in common, I think, is that when she does something a little bad, she gets a little
I think that's a Latina thing, if you ask me.
That could be.
Yeah, that little bratty thing. Okay, speaking of bratty, when I first came on backstage and met up with Leo, he was practically naked with his.
I was practicing.
He was practicing for a shoot because there's something very important coming up. So here's our apron. We have merchandise. We're going to talk about our merchandise.
It kind of looked like this.
Yes, exactly. So our apron, our piece de resistance, as we always say, our beautiful blue apron. Go ahead, keep eating. It says on it. This is $25. It is well worth every penny. You can wash it a million times. Color doesn't fade. It's a great item. And that is our biggest seller. One of the reasons we've been selling so many lately is because we're working on a calendar. Leo is going to be editing that calendar. Mm-hmm. He has the laboring task of editing the photos that come in and choosing what month they go on. So
I'm trying to figure out what size paper, leather or legal.
We may have to go with legal, yeah. So we do have a campaign going. If you would like to take a photograph of yourself in the apron, only the apron, you are welcome to, and you will make our calendar. We have a calendar for next year, 2022, the blue apron. Well, our only apron. Only apron calendar. Okay, so that's $25. If you want one, please email us at what's the story with Maria at Gmail. or you can just text me if you have my number, or you can email me. Or Leo, you can, and either one of us. Now, what else? We have for $10. If you don't want to invest in an apron, you don't need an apron, but you need a tote bag. Everybody needs a tote bag. Thank you, Leo. As we flip, oh my God, what would I do without Leo?
Durable,
so it says
wonderful.
On the back, go ahead, keep eating. And you get a much, much younger version of me. There I am in my younger days.
Durable. You can fit, like I would tell, 2 gallons. You can fit 2 gallons in here and carry it strongly. Vegetable, all kinds of stuff.
Leo, you've done it. Yeah, I usually use it for I use it for a lot of different things, but
so
that
parched.
is a tote bag. It's 10. Oh wow!
I'm parched.
Thank God you had your mug, and we also have our What's the Story with Maria mug. These are $10 as well.
This is how I have to hug Maria nowadays.
Oh, Leo, you're so sweet. I miss you. Leo's out in Idlewild, California, but Idlewild, California is right near Palm Springs. And one of our friends in Palm Springs, I'm giving you a heads up, Alexis Hunter is going to be in New York, October 18th at the Stonewall Inn. This is now really, it's getting closer. And
there was a press release the other day, right, for BroadwayWorld.com. I saw that, and it's about Joy Lansing, who's got a wonderful, great history.
Lori.
I love that.
Lori did that press release.
I love that Rachel has just kept this history alive, because a lot of people need to know what people went through back then to keep their lives and keep themselves together. But also, you know what also is going on down in Palm Springs?
What?
Terry Ray and Mel England are back doing electricity.
I know, which is amazing. And they were on a big billboard today. Did you see that?
I saw that. I have to go drive by. We're going down there tomorrow, so I'm going to see if I can drive by that billboard.
Oh, my God. Yes. And see if you can take a picture. And also my friend Paul Halloran owns Paul Bar, which is also in Palm Springs. That's one place that's on my list of places to visit, Palm Springs.
Coming in 2022, Maria goes on the road to Palm Springs.
You know what? It's not out of the question. It's not out of the question. Everybody listen, California's doing well. New York is doing well. We are all getting I think New York is up to 77% vaccinated. How amazing and impressive is that? So everybody else, come on, get on the stick.
Yeah, come on.
I'm going to have to get Italian color on everybody. Let's go. You, come on. Everybody. I'm telling you. Anyway, so I'm proud of our coach. We're doing great. Dominic has jumped on. Dominic, I know you got the apron. I told Leo that you were doing a big photo shoot coming up. Yes.
A photo shoot.
Well, he's in the biz, so he can get a photo shoot. Dominic was at the Stonewall Inn last night. He came to visit me and Susie. He did cause a ruckus.
Hi, John.
He did.
I bet.
Who? John Bailey?
Sing? John Bailey is a friend of mine from California. We've got a lot more viewers coming our way from.
Oh, I love that. Page. Okay, wonderful. So I say we forge ahead with our show. Tonight, I have named the show In the Garden of the Gifted. And I'll tell you why. I was talking to my wonderful friend, my musical director and best buddy in the world, Lynn Portis. And we were talking about, I love all her kids, right? They're all amazing and they all do incredible things. And Andrew, popped up in our conversation. And so I said, you know what? You think Andrew's free to come on to do the show? And she was like, I'll reach out to him. Sure enough, he was. And I'm very excited about it because I've known all of Lynn's kids since they were babies. And now they're adults and they're incredibly intelligent, successful, thriving adults. But they are beautiful human beings, more importantly than anything. So we are our first guest. I would like to, speaking of beautiful human beings, do we have our first guest with us?
I'm right here. I made my way over.
Oh my God, you made your way over. Hi, Andrew Brennan.
Hello.
How are you, honey?
I'm doing pretty good. It's a typical Tuesday. Another day after work day, going on a nightly talk show.
I know. Just it's another day in the life of Andrew Brennan.
Of course. So,
Andrew, now you, I know what you do, but tell everybody what you do. What you do for a living.
Sure. So I'm a structural engineer. I work mostly throughout Long Island, a little bit in New York City. Offices based out of Smithtown. Just a usual kind of 9 to 6 nowadays because, the office work never ends. But no, for the most part, I do a lot of structural work, structural design, building new homes, a few different commercial buildings. It usually depends on the day and a lot of my job is mostly going out either inspections or, staying in the office, making sure I can, make sure all 4 walls are standing up on that building going on next door.
Oh my God. Thank you. Thank you for doing that so that the rest of us can not worry about things of that nature.
Of course.
And you also, your specialty is also like earthquakes and making sure that structures are sound for earthquakes. Is that am I right?
That's what I did a lot of my schoolwork on. I did a little bit of research. There was hello over there in California. I actually did a good research study on.
Yeah, we just had about a 3.4 earthquake that I felt about 45 minutes before the show.
No, I used to.
Yeah, I live in California. It's fire or earthquake. Anyway, continue. Sorry, Andrew.
No, of course, no. Hey, it's good.
Leo, stay on with us because this is important. This is pertinent to you. So, Andrew, that's one of the things that you studied, right?
Yeah. So to put it in really simple terms, I've tried to explain it to some people, and then I get eye rolls after a minute. Basically, my professor was really into like electrical transformers, which, as you know, the biggest problem with earthquake is when you get down power lines, down transformers, you have power outages. So essentially, she made a system when she was in her grad program about essentially installing like certain pieces of steel in certain areas of the ground to make sure that when all the shaking goes on, that the transformer can stay stable enough that it doesn't start cracking and bending.
Wow.
And so what I did as a continuation of her research was I said, okay, let's look at essentially like the feasibility. Like how much does it come down to if you have it installed versus if you don't? What's the cost difference? Like how much does it save over a 1-year period, a 10-year period based on, how likely there is of earthquakes in a lot of areas. And funny enough, California was our like sample area. We tested through, I think, 2 areas around San Diego and 2 areas around, I want to say Los Angeles. I honestly don't remember at this point, but it was what I did a lot of my research on, and a lot of it was just coming down to that idea of like, not only is this a possibility, you can spend $10 million on a product to save $10 in a day. You can make something smaller, but something that's more like, okay, if we spend $1,000 now, we might save $10,000 in 1 year or $1 million in 5 years, and that was kind of the whole basis of how worthwhile is this as a research opportunity.
Wow. And I also know that like your mom fills me in on everything. By the way, Andrew's mom is Lynn Portis, so in case people just popped on, who we all know and love Lynn Portis. So, but also she talks a lot to me about, we both talk about like just where the world is going with weather, with global warming, and how you and your friends and your generation are really like you have so much knowledge about what's happening and where we're going with this. Mm-hmm. And so I personally am so grateful that people like you are doing all this research because we really need you. And we were talking before the show a little bit, and I am one of these people, I'm a person of a certain age, but I'm okay with my age. I'm grateful for everything I've done. I'm grateful for what I'm going to do. But, a lot of times people of our generation are worried about the future because we're kind of passing the torch, right?
Right.
So, and here we are, people like you and your brothers and sisters, your brother and your sisters, you're the future of America. Mm-hmm. So it really, it's amazing to me that you folks are doing so many great things. So I wanted to thank you for that right off.
Well, I appreciate it as much as I can.
Yeah. And now I want to tell one quick story, Andrew, and then I promise I'll let you talk.
That by all means.
This is my Andrew. I have many Andrew stories, but this is my favorite Andrew story. Mm-hmm. So one time, many, many years ago, I was doing a show with Lynn, as we often do. We're rehearsing. So Lynn says, I'm going to bring Andrew with me, if that's okay. I said, of course, I love Andrew. He's wonderful. And he was 8 years old at the time. So she brings Andrew, and Andrew just rushes in. He's adorable, gives me a hug, and she's getting ready. We're going to get ready to play some music. And she writes a few things down, and she hands it to Andrew, and she goes, okay, honey, you go do that, and we're going to rehearse, okay? So I was like, all right, great. And Andrew just goes off and rehearses, and I don't know, we made him like a sandwich or something, as you would do for a kid. So he goes off, and I said, oh, what did you give him? Like, he's 8. So I'm thinking, I don't know, did you give him like Hangman or I don't know. So she said, oh, I gave him 12 algebra problems. I said, what? What do you mean you gave? She's like, oh, he loves math. Andrew loves math. It's like a game to him. But Andrew, you came rushing out shortly after that with your little paper and all your algebra problems done. And I will tell you, I didn't have a clue what was on that paper, how to solve it, or even what it meant. But Andrew at 8 finished his algebra problem. So that's one of my favorite Andrew stories. So you have always been a lover of math. Is that true?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. I don't know really what it was, or maybe it was just the idea of numbers, but they always really connected with me very easy. I was very quick to, I think, I know Dad and Mom used to be like, oh yeah, we taught him square and square roots. Oh, what at third grade? Like maybe no, I was in kindergarten. I learned how to where I went there. What's square root of 81? 9, and I do that back and forth. And it's funny because I know it's funny. I didn't think that was a story you were going to tell because I don't know how much you remember, but I know that it was around the time I was maybe 13. No, I don't think I was. Maybe I was 14. I think we were in the city at the duplex, and a friend of yours, I forget her name. This is gonna drive me insane.
Judy, my girlfriend.
Judy, I knew it was Judy. I knew some of the J. I couldn't remember, but I know that Judy was in the middle of trying to get ready for her SATs, and I helped her with her SATs.
No, listen to this. What you did, okay? Because you were so young. So Judy was going back to college. She hadn't been in a long time, and she was going back in because she wanted to get her degree. And she's now has 3 degrees, God bless her, and her master's in business and finance and all that. But she, in order to, re-enter college after many years, she needed to take another entrance exam and math. So she said to me, I have to find a tutor. And I said, oh, I got one for you. And I called your mother and I said, is Andrew free on Wednesday? Because Judy needs a tutor. Now, Judy was in her late 30s and you were a teenager at the time. I think you were 13 or 14. So again, your mom and I were rehearsing. We actually wrote a song that day. So we wrote a song together while you were tutoring Judy. Right. And so that's another one of my, that's why I said I have many Andrew stories. Right? And you tutored her, and actually she did a great job. She got in, and she now has a few degrees and a master's. So thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Andrew. But so you said you always connected with math. It was something that you connected with.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is that for me, it was fun, I mean, I used to be learning things like algebra, geometry. I used to get pulled out of class in elementary school very often, more often than not. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to do Sudoku puzzles today, or I'm going to figure out how trigonometry works today. I think this was, when I was in 4th grade. I think there was a day where I don't remember. I feel like Mom probably told me about it, but I was 4th grade. I was like, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to see my friends. And I got pulled out during math. Instead of going out in the hallway, I went out to the high school 10, 15 minutes away because I was that, I know it's at the time, looking back, I was her kind of senior experience, classic, the way you do an internship style thing, where she was coming to the school to teach me math. And then she brought me to a classroom with her and a few of her, her other students. And she had me solve 4 trigonometry problems and explain them. And to me, it was like, oh, okay, this is different, but I'm just doing math in front of people. This is cool. And then it wasn't looking back, maybe a few years ago, I'm like, oh wow, I was her entire internship experience for the year. That's really why I was pulled out as much. And obviously, I realized that eventually at some point, but I didn't think about it in that degree of somebody wanted to essentially pick my brain enough to see how I would be if she taught me math as a high schooler.
Wow. And how old were you?
That was when I was in 4th grade, so I must have been 9, maybe going on 10, something
10,
like
yeah.
that.
Okay. Now also, let's talk about, I call this What I Did on My Summer Vacation by Andrew Brennan. So I remember your mom said
I still remember this. That's
come on, your mom said to me, oh, Andrew has a summer job in your neighborhood. Now I live in Washington Heights. I said, oh, he does, and you live in Long Island. Yeah. And I thought, wow, that's a long way for a kid to go for a summer job. I mean, what's in my neighborhood that he could, whatever you were at that age. So she said, he's working at Columbia Presbyterian. I was like, what? How old is he? And so, Andrew, tell everybody what you did in your summer vacation.
Yeah, so that's when I was 16. My school had a program. They would call it advanced science. It was if you want to, you have a specific topic, something that interests you that you want to explore outside of the classroom, you can get it set up. They help you to contact certain researchers and professors. So I got in contact because at the time, and this is really funny because I really should have thought at the time, my neighbor, I had found out just kind of offhand. It was one of my first days at school, just talking to him. He was going into a classroom, a separate room. The bill was like, oh, hey, how you doing? Blah, blah, blah. And I found out he had ADHD. And I didn't know that at the time. I just thought, oh, okay, he's just a little bit distracted. Maybe he's just, like a little bit slow to things. I didn't really realize that he had like something like that. So I was like, oh, that's weird. I don't really know much about ADHD. And the more I read up on it, the more I heard of it, I'm like, this seems like more than it is. So I got in contact with a guy at Columbia Presbyterian. I think it's on 168th. I don't remember what avenue, but it was on 168th. And I would go there and I essentially would do like, they had MRI brain scans of people who had ADHD as compared to a normal like test subject brain. I was like, oh, like how, like where do the waves differ? Like what's the chemical composition difference? And I don't fully know what came out of that. You know, like I was a high schooler like putting in data, but it was just, it was my idea of like, I want to learn more about this today.
Isn't that so? Oh, so everybody, I hope everybody out there right now feels like an underachiever, because that's what I call it. What I did on my summer vacation by Andrew Brennan. So I just think that's wonderful. And I just remember, I don't know. I love that story. I love all the stories about you, but especially the ones that involve me. You know,
well, obviously you're the one who wants to tell them.
Right. Of course. So, okay. So now what I do want to talk about, because it will bring in our other guests in a few minutes. Mm-hmm. So you went to a wonderful school on Long Island in 7th and 8th grade. And you want to talk about that, and go ahead.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I still have a very good memory about it, because I remember kind of being a bit confused during the time. No, it was in 6th grade. I was getting ready to go to middle school in Long Island. Elementary is kindergarten to 6th, and then 7 to 8th is middle, and then 9 to 12 is high school. So when I was getting ready to go into middle school, and I had gotten like what was going to be my class schedule, like I said at the time, I was doing like stuff way above. I think I had done what was algebra and geometry in 5th grade. I was learning trig by myself in 6th grade, like with mom and dad. And they were going to put me in 8th grade honors math in my first year, where I already had like state, Regents exams showing that I was well above that. And so I remember like a lot of kind of arguing and figuring out what to do with that. And so I went to a school called the Long Island School for the Gifted, based out of Huntington. And they're still there to this day. I'm so glad that they exist at all. It's a school made for essentially people like me, people that, have that ability to go beyond what is maybe the typical school curriculum, but, don't have the fundamental schooling tools maybe in their district to really handle that. So I went there. I remember I had a mock day. Like I went there in like 6th grade in like March or April. And I spent the whole day with the students, and, I went to their classrooms. I saw what they were like. I met a lot of them. I got their phone numbers, got in contact with them. And, they told me, okay, if you're going to come here, you just need to catch up on, language and a year of history, because those are two things like, theoretically I would do in 7th grade, like, what was it? American History 1, and they started Spanish in 6th grade there. So I learned Spanish on my own during the summer. I read through history, even though it was one of my least favorite subjects. And then for 2 years, I was able to go there. I took algebra and geometry in my first year. I took trig the second year, got my Regents done. I learned about, biology and physical science. Like, these were high school grade courses that I was taking in, 7th and 8th grade. And honestly, it's a really important thing for me, because when I went to high school the next year, I wasn't taking 10th grade honors math for the 3rd time in a row. I was taking, pre-calculus and then calculus and then taking, global history. And I was able to graduate in 3 years, and I was able to continue my schooling at what was my rate at the time.
Right. So you finally were in a world that was like, I love that you said it, at your rate. I feel like I have always felt that, like, that's one of the things I love about New York, that I always felt like I was running at a different speed when I lived in Massachusetts, and nothing against Massachusetts. I love it. But when I moved to New York, I felt like the whole world was walking in step with me versus my brain in Massachusetts. Yep. Exactly. And, being someone that was like, just thought different or created differently, or like, what did you say? What are you talking about? Or or you're so weird. Like, oh my God, you're so weird. And then when I got to New York, I was like, oh, like we're not misfits. We were in the wrong place.
Oh, as someone who spent 2 years in Texas, I entirely know what you're talking about. I mean, I'm in Texas with a bad place. Obviously, I went to, for those who don't know, I went to Texas A&M for my graduate program. So, very nice engineering school. There were a lot of smart people there. Like, obviously they all earned their keep. But, I spent a lot of time there. I was there with kind of the general populace. And I know that whenever I'd come back to New York, I felt way more at home. Not even just because obviously it's my home. I lived here, but definitely just the environment and kind of the way people are, I think, is different. Obviously Southern hospitality and whatnot versus kind of I'm walking here type of area on the side. Right. There's definitely just a big difference, I think, in the way people carry themselves. And on a daily basis, everyone has things to do. They are busy, and that's important, I think, to me.
Right. Absolutely. And so I just feel like I love that story about, I love all your stories, but the school, and your mom talks to me about the school, and I know, that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring Roberta in, because she was the principal there. And it's just amazing that these places exist, and that they can water these talents, that are out there like yours.
No, absolutely. No, yeah. I mean, I've obviously talked to Roberta plenty of times. Like, you obviously know that she's a friend of Mom's, so obviously any friend of Mom's knows everything about my life.
Right. Well, we don't know anything about your life. We are sworn, and if we do, we're sworn to secrecy, Andrew.
Of course you are. Of course you are. Everybody is.
You know how ladies are.
I know. Trust me, I'm very much the same way. All right, if you tell me something in confidence, it stays there.
Right.
But no, I mean, no, I've interacted a lot with Roberta. She helped me out, like, getting into college, kind of helping me, like, write about my experience, especially in LISG at the time when, I was trying to find the right way. Because I think that what happens is that there are times where, you think, like, and like this even happens to me now. Like, there are times where I want to tell people about my experience, and I'm like, oh, I went to, regular elementary school, did this, that, and then I went to this other middle school. Because sometimes I feel weird saying, like, I went to a school called the Long Island School for the Gifted. Because, not that it makes you feel ashamed for how I feel, but, it's not something you hear often. I feel like most people see it as like, oh, you're special. And it's like, I mean, not intentionally.
Right. Now, that is a wonderful point, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's one of those touchy subjects, right? Like, yes, you did go to this wonderful school. Yes, it's just like, if people go to a vocational school, they go to that school because it's a specialized thing.
Exactly.
So for you, that was a school that was perfect for, as you said, your skill set, your needs, things like that. But there's and it's so strange because it's such a wonderful thing to be, and yet there's a stigma attached to it of almost boasting.
Right.
Right? Did you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, and like even like when I talked about how good I like the things I did in math as a school, like obviously I'm very proud of those things because I know that like for me, like it was just me having fun doing math. I didn't see it that way at the time. I didn't think of it as, oh, I'm so much better at math than you, and that's why. It's like, no, I was just like, I'm just having fun doing math. And then even nowadays, I'm still like, I always feel not weird, but it's always like, yeah, I got pulled out. Like, I was good at math. Like I don't feel as like insanely like, oh, this is just great. I'm getting able to do what I want to sometimes.
You know what? It's almost like there's an apology attached to it. Almost like apologizing for being smart.
That's
because, and I'll tell you what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that you don't want to make other people feel less than.
I've never thought of it that way, but I wouldn't say that's far off the mark, honestly.
Yeah, because you're a kind person. You are, Andrew. You're a wonderful human being. And you just happen to be extremely talented, but you're super kind. And so what I'm hearing as an older person and a friend of yours is that you would never want to make someone else feel like they were not as good at something as you. So you douse your light so that others can shine just as brightly. That's what I hear.
Well, honestly, I'd say it's pretty close to the mark. I'd say it's pretty close.
Well, I want to thank you for being amazing. I want to thank you for your beautiful brain that will help us with things in the future and helps us every day. Please don't go far, okay? We're going to bring Roberta in, and then we're going to bring you and Ariana in together at 9:45. So don't go far. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend, Lynn Portis and Joe Brennan's son, Andrew Brennan. Give him a big hand. Leo. Okay, great. Leo, how cool is Andrew Brennan? I told you, he's the sweetest thing in the world.
Just, another family that I could have been adopted into.
I know. Leo's always looking for some family to be adopted into. And now he has many families that have adopted him. All right. Do we have Roberta in the wings?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to definitely bring you back, Andrew. Don't go far.
You got it.
All right. And now, ladies and gentlemen, okay, so I met Roberta through Lynn. I know, isn't Andrew just, I love him so much. My heart goes like this when I see Andrew. All of Lynn's kids, I love them.
I'm about to prepare to be amazed again by our next guest because I'm sure, but it all stems from like Joe and Lynn and just the love that they
out. And the connection. So I met Roberta through Lynn of course, at many different events. Some of Lynn's children's weddings and shows, lots of shows. She's a huge theater goer and supporter of the arts. So, but she also is a retired school principal for the Long Island School of the Gifted. And now she is a professor at Hofstra. So can we bring her in?
Dun, 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 dun.
There she is, Roberta Tropper. Yay! Hi, Lily. How are you?
Good, good. Is it working?
Yes, it's working great. It's working great. Your lighting is wonderful. Thank you for agreeing to do this. So I called you so late yesterday, but you know, my brain, my wheels are always turning, and I really wanted to have Andrew on. And then I was like, this would be this would just go perfectly. So thank you. Now you are retired from being the principal there, correct?
Right. I was there for 35 years.
Wow.
And I retired in 2016. You know, it was like a labor of love, we call it. And I started, the school was only a year old. Wow. So we really, you know, were able to make it grow and all the things that Andrew was talking about, very flattering, you know. I had a student. When you have kids like that, sometimes you wonder, am I really teaching them? You know, they know so much. They explore so much on their own. And yet I specifically remember teaching Andrew a topic. I had a class called Thinking Skills, and it was just to try to make kids think. And we did this very abstract thing with bases other than 10. And Andrew loved it. And the nice thing about a lot of the kids at our school is they tell you when they love, you know, that was a great lesson. Well, I really enjoyed that. And Andrew was one of those kids. Andrew would come up to you after class and say, thanks, I really loved that.
I can hear that. I can hear
it. Rewarding.
Well, you know what's beautiful about what you just said? I hear this joy that these kids must have felt, and this freedom they must have felt to be in a place where they were not just celebrated, but where they were challenged and they were recognized and heard and seen, and they were watered. You know, I was talking to Lynn today. I said it's like watering your garden. You can't grow something in cement. You just can't.
We used to call some of the kids like Andrew's age when they came to us later, like they were dried up sponges, and nobody had been watering them. So that's what we did. We tried to saturate them with as much as we could, expose them to everything, because you don't know where the gifts lie if you've never been exposed to something. And,
that's beautiful.
I'm glad you touched on the whole idea too about the stigma, because I think, you know, nobody is embarrassed to be a great sports star or win a sports trophy. And quite frankly, nobody's embarrassed about going to Harvard. But somehow when they're younger kids, we're not supposed to separate them. And we had a saying at the school, you can check your IQ at the door because it's what you do with it that counts.
Wow.
And the successful students, the most successful ones, were the hardest workers, not necessarily the highest IQs. The idea is just to go to their instructional level and start there and then let them work. Because if they knew everything they were doing in school, they weren't really learning at all. I mean, we were failing them as a system if they knew everything we were teaching them. The idea is to stretch them, make them grow, help them to learn, and help them to be great students. So,
right. And but I remember, like, I went to Catholic school when I was a kid. So my parents worked very hard so we could go to a private school. And but I remember we had certain kids in our class that were very, very smart. And I always remember them downplaying it. Right. Like, because sometimes the boys would pick on the smart girls. Especially girls. And so that stayed with me. You know, and I was a very good student, but I wasn't like the smartest kid or anything like that. But I do remember that I had a lot of friends and they shrunk themselves. It was almost like you could physically see them, just like, if I could just be invisible and get my good grades, maybe nobody will pick on me. And if you think about how backwards that is and how distorted and shame on us. you know, not us, but shame on people that would not see that and try to, you know, bring that out. So I think about that, and that's why Lynn and I were talking about that today with kids, you know. And I saw even Andrew today. Look, he's an adult, and it's still like, oh, better not shine too bright.
You know, a lot of people on Long Island, especially, they have bumper stickers on their cars when their kids make honor roll. But I've also seen the bumper sticker that said, "My kid beat up your honor student."
Wow. Can you imagine?
It broke my heart every time I saw that, because, I mean, who else, what other group of students could you say that about? What other part of the population could you possibly say that about and not, well, maybe nowadays, I don't know, because it seems like all the rules are gone. But and I used to want to stop and yell at these people or educate them. They're just children. They deserve a chance. And we want to raise them up to contribute to society.
Absolutely. But you know what you just talked about with that bumper sticker, when I first started teaching, it was 92, and I had the great honor and privilege of working with social workers side by side as an artist in residence. And it was one of the greatest experiences of my life, because I wasn't just learning to teach, I was learning how to integrate everything into the arts. And one of the first things that we learned was, if a child is mean to another child, it means they feel bad about themselves. So I would bring this into my class. So if I had a kid that would pick on someone over and over and over, rather than just try to ignore or pull them aside, I would say, okay, so I just learned something. I learned that if a child is mean to another child, it means they feel bad about themselves. I would say it. And then I would say, so I guess that John is feeling a little bad about himself today. And it would freeze that moment where everybody would, rather than everybody getting behind John, who was doing the picking, it kind of broke the energy, and it called it for what it was, you know? So I said, well, you know, things like that, like I because that's the kind of thing that stays and stays and stays in a person's life on both ends. On both the bully end and the child that is the recipient of that. So it's it's delicate. It's like surgery when you teach. I mean, I don't have to tell you, you know, I'm just an artist in residence. But so you are now at Hofstra, right?
Yes, I'm teaching courses there to the graduate students in education department. I'm teaching the gifted courses, Introduction to Gifted Methods. So I feel my life's really come full circle, because I went to Hofstra undergraduate.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 1970. Yeah.
So, yeah. I'm with you.
A long time ago. I'm a dinosaur now, but
well, I'm right there with you, honey.
It's really come full circle, because now I have this opportunity to teach teachers what I've learned all these years about gifted students. And I hope, you know, one teacher at a time, I'm changing the way they think about, you know, gifted education and gifted students, and hoping that they'll pass that on to their students, and, you know, the cycle will continue. Because
I love that. Speaking of the cycle, I was I went and looked at the website for the Long Island Schools of Gifted, and there was some alumni stories, you know, and I noticed that some of the students are now going to Hofstra.
Yes.
So I thought that was a great story as well, you know, all just the connection and all that amazing stuff. Now, so you teach teachers that will teach gifted children.
Right.
Wow, or that's really...
Some of them just have gifted students, you know, like, for instance, a high school math teacher may just have a couple of students that are gifted, and they're looking for ways to reach them. Now, unfortunately, the confines of the curriculum and what our high schools expect of teachers is very hard. And nowadays we have to be everything to our students. So it's hard for them sometimes to carve out a special program for some students. And that's what a lot of them are looking for. How can I do this? And there are techniques, because, you know, one of the things we used to say in our school is, if a third grader can do 5 long division problems, why do we make them do 20? Why do they have to do it the next day? Why do they have to? They've done it. They've shown us they can do it. Move on. Move to the next thing. And it's saves time, and it also keeps them going, keeps them challenged. The amount of repetition built into the curriculum is
now, how do you feel about students helping other students? Like if there are students in a class that do excel at something, how do you feel about putting them in groups where they would help other students? Are you an advocate of that, or do you feel like it's...
I think that sometimes that's a nice thing to do, but I think if you want to make the gifted kid the teacher, the other children are certainly going to resent them. You already can't say that I go to a school for gifted kids. Who wants their classmate to be their teacher?
Right,
and how is that serving the gifted child?
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes group work is good. They call cooperative learning, and yes, sometimes it's a nice tool to put a group together and say, well, you're in charge of this and you're in charge of this, and you'll lead the group. But to make kids mini teachers or teaching assistants, it doesn't serve anybody. And socially, I think, look, sometimes these kids have a hard time fitting in because they're different. I think when Andrew came and he walked,
okay,
he said, he said, feel like they fit. Now,
of course,
feel like they fit, and now we make them be the teacher or the assistant teacher. I don't think that helps them. And
okay, that's what
not really qualified. It's
that was one of my questions. Yeah,
but they're not
very interesting
to teach the children either. It shouldn't be their responsibility.
Yeah,
so I'm not a big
interesting
proponent of that, and I really also am not a big proponent of skipping grades, because I think that there's an emotional maturity that they have to have, and that's not always a gifted part of them. And when kids go to college when they're 14 years old, they're missing that whole experience of what going to college is all about: being on your own, being independent, taking care of just you.
Yes. So the social and emotional independent. I mean, yeah, that
all has to be considered. So what we try to do is just accelerate the curriculum, but keep them with kids their own age, their own social age, their own mental age, and their own emotional age.
Right.
The more interesting things to do. There's so much out there that they can learn.
Oh, I love it. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I mean, thank God for people like you. Because I believe in a world of great abundance. I don't look at things in a vacuum or like a line. I think that things are so big and there's so many different avenues to explore. And you're right. Also what I'm hearing is every kid has a different gift. Lynn and I were talking about that today. Every child has a different gift, and somebody may not be good at one thing, but somebody else might be great at it. And there's that balance, and all that stuff. So, okay, what time do we have here? Because I want to bring them back, but we have to do the food section of our show. Okay, so in order for me to stay creative, because this is a show. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Liam, do you see this?
Oh, look at that.
I'm sure I wasn't watching. What?
He's ready and waiting.
Andrew, I have to send you a cup.
Cheers.
Give me your address. I'll say, oh my God. Roberta she whipped that out.
She was ready. She was waiting.
I'm telling you, perfect.
On cue. That's talent, I'll tell you. It's all in the timing.
All in the timing. Now, Andrew, bring your girlfriend in here for
Of course. You're being cold. 1 second, she's on her way. There she is.
All right, it's Ariana, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep, we got it. Hello.
Hi, Ariana.
Hi, how are you?
So glad to have you. So we're gonna talk to Ariana in a minute, but you all have to help me together do the food section of our show, which is called "Go Ahead, Keep Eating."
Okay. All right.
Okay. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Go ahead, keep eating. Okay. So I cannot ask my friends to come on and speak of their creative talents if I do not challenge myself every week creatively. And I like to challenge myself as a chef. So what did I make? I've been on the keto. I won't be on it forever, but I'm going to stay on it a little more. And Andrew, you know who got me on the keto way back when was your sister, Jackie, Dr. Jackie.
Really?
So what did I make for myself tonight? I made flounder and I have sesame, a little bit of ginger, garlic, scallions, and a little bit of soy. And so I cook that in there, and then a medley of vegetables and just plain butter, garlic, salt, and pepper. That's it. Nice. Yeah, but this is delicious, and I can eat this whole plate, and I can still stay on my keto. All right.
We're sorry. If you love The Little Mermaid, we're sorry.
Leo, you just ruined it. Now I feel bad for that little flounder. And all I can think about is Nemo. It's terrible. Okay, so what did I make myself for a salad tonight? I have Boston lettuce. These are mini ripe tomatoes, vine ripe tomatoes, red radishes, red onion, and avocado with a little bit of lime. Aceto de Modena, which is from Tuscany. It's this delicious balsamic. And this delicious olive oil that my neighbor bought me from Calabria. So this is an Italian kind of Mexican salad going on there. Leo, it's like me and you. And because I'm trying to squeeze the last few slices of summer, I'm having watermelon.
There you go.
Nice.
That's a good
That's
stuff.
a nice light meal, right? Nice light meal. Because as soon as fall hits, all bets are off. Then I'm eating everything under the sun, the pumpkin muffins, and I can't stop. So I'm getting myself ready.
Here's Maria. Is this keto actually?
What did you make, Leo?
It's pork carnitas. It's Anaheim chili, serrano chili, and jalapeno salsa.
What?
Guacamole and lettuce on corn tortillas. So that's keto, right?
Yeah. Well, if the tortillas were low carb, yes.
Tortillas.
But tortillas aren't bad. They're not bad.
Well, they're corn tortillas and they're street tacos, so they're extra small.
Oh,
that's good, Leo. You're on. That's it. You're doing it.
Thanks, Dr. Jackie.
Dr. Jackie. I mean, Andrew, she whipped us into shape.
Oh, I'd imagine. I can tell.
Andrew's sister, Jackie. Dr. Jackie is actually the official doctor of What's the Story with Maria. And we're going to have her back on very soon to talk about.
Good.
Yeah, she's great. Okay, so now let's bring us all back in together. And we want to, Ariana, let's talk to you for a little bit. Now, you are a teacher, right?
I am, yeah.
And what do you teach?
Right now I teach preschool special ed.
Wow. So is everybody back to school?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you think these kids, they understand that it's are they happy to be back? Do they understand why it's important they come back? You think?
My students are actually right now in their very first year of preschool, so none of them have ever been in school. I don't think most of them have even ever been to daycare before.
Oh
so
my goodness!
They're like pandemic kids. They're just turned 3, really little.
Wow!
So, and they're all actually nonverbal.
Isn't that amazing? So you are literally teaching from your heart, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like literally you're beaming from your heart into these little souls. Thank God for people like you. Thank you for doing what you do. And so how big are your classes?
We have 7 kids right now.
Okay, that's perfect. That's great. That's great. And did you always want to do that? Was that something you always wanted to do, or did you fall into it? Or
it was something I initially didn't know. Because my certifications are in the elementary age.
Okay.
So I initially wasn't, when I first applied, I wasn't really sure 100%. Then I kind of thought about it as the interview process went on. And then once I got the job offer, I thought to myself, I can see myself doing this age group on as well as elementary one day.
Well, the nice thing about anything that we do, especially, but it doesn't matter what age you are. I was going to say when you're young, but it doesn't, because I feel like if we're open-minded, we're all evolving all the time. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're just energy that's moving all the time, right? So right now you're doing this amazing work that needs to be done, but you can move in any direction you like. You know, sometimes it's just like where the wind blows you, but in the best possible way as a teacher. You know, you have to follow that heart part of yourself, you know?
Right, yeah.
But it's wonderful. Teachers are my favorite people. They really are. I just think like they're so underrated and they change the world. I always say that teachers are like, I remember, and I bet everyone here, including Leo, remembers all their teachers as kids, right? It's like you remember those special teachers, and how important they are in your life. So it's just a great thing. And thank you for popping on, because we want to. Leo, what are you doing? Are you eating now?
I was not having a taco, but
why can't you wait to go, Leo? See, this is what he does. And sometimes he has something he's made for the show, but he eats it before we get to go ahead, keep eating. He's done it many times. I go, Leo, show what you made. And he's like, oh, I ate it. All right. Oh, my God. So anyway, thank you. And Ariana, we'll have you on at another time, maybe like towards the middle of the year or the end of the year, just to see, how things are going. Because I find as a teacher, because I teach after school performing arts, and we haven't gone back yet, because I did all remote teaching last year. So now we're starting to get back into that. But I really am curious to see where my kids are at. And, maybe Roberta, you're at college level. Do you feel like there's been a change in people psychologically?
Well, I do think that most of my students are teachers. And
right.
It's
like, but they're still students.
Right. But it's like they went through a war last year. And there's part of the classes I have to observe them. So I'd have to come in on their screen, see what they were doing. And the hybrid ones, I think, were the hardest, when they had some kids in the room and some kids on the screen. And then I was watching and everybody's talking. And but
yeah,
I wanted to just say to Ariana, there's a famous saying, I don't remember who said it to attribute it to, but it's that the end depends on the beginning. And that's where you are.
Well, you know what? That's
it's the hardest work. It's the best.
Absolutely, and that reminds me of I just finished a little while ago the Malcolm Gladwell Outliers.
Oh, love that.
Amazing. Of course, Lynn Portis suggests that I read it.
Genius.
Genius. Yeah, Lynn Portis, genius. We always say it that way. But she said you need to read this book, and you're absolutely right. What you just said, and a lot of it has to do with opportunity, or where a child is placed, or even when kids are born. Like, it was mind blowing. But a lot of it, to me, I heard opportunity over and over and over again. And so that's why teachers are so important. And the world, it's almost, I feel like the world was picked up like some crazy entity picked up like a snow globe, and it was like, and we were all rattled, and now we have to kind of find our place. But a lot of us are in the wrong place, and where some of us are enjoying it, adjusting again, or like there's a lot of new great things, that are coming out of it. Ariana, what do you feel like there is anything new that has shifted in your line of work that maybe is something good that came out of the pandemic?
I mean, I've only also been teaching for a little less than a year now.
That's okay. That's wonderful.
It's super duper new. I mean, it's just like, it definitely affected everyone, especially on a social, emotional level. Like, from what I understand at the school I'm working at right now, during the pandemic, they were doing like Zoom meetings. I think it was twice a day, and not all the kids would participate. And they couldn't really understand. They were not in person, and they were seeing faces, but they couldn't, I guess, like, make the connection. And I think it definitely affected them socially and emotionally, to where this past summer we had like the biggest summer enrollment that they've had in a long time.
Yeah.
Almost every kid in my building was enrolled in summer, when it's normally kind of determined just by like how much progress you've made and how much support you need and everything like that. Pretty much every student got the summer enrollment.
Right. Wow. Yeah, there's so much. I think we're going to look back at this time in history, and really it's going to be like a mind-blowing experience. We're going to learn from it, but we're also, what we need to do, and I'll ask you to do now, is just take a second and really give yourself a pat on the back, really. Because I think like Roberta was saying, we've all been through this like war experience, and we're coming out on the other side, but wow. Right? on so many levels. And also, I have many teachers in my family, and I'm so proud of that. And it's all young people, the next generation, because my generation, we were more like blue collar workers, but our children are, many of them have become our teachers, and it's just amazing. I'm so proud of that. So we have a few minutes left to our show. Andrew, I always ask people to send something out into the universe that's going to inspire our listeners or anyone else out there. And just coming from the heart, like, what is something that you'd like to send out there to encourage people to just stay in the game, whatever you're doing?
I mean, I think the simplest thing that I can say is that, you know, there's always improvement on the day. There's always something you can find different every day. But in that same regard, I think that every single day can be different. I think that when you have a bad week, when something goes wrong, maybe you couldn't go to that restaurant because they had to close down or they had an outbreak, something's going on in the world. Every day is a new day. And I think as long as you keep that in mind, that no matter how hard things can get, you can find something new in your current day to make things better.
Beautiful. Ariana, what do you want to add?
I mean, you said it pretty perfectly, so I have nothing else to add.
Well, you see why you two get along? You see? I love it. And Roberta, what would you like to add?
I just would like everybody to be kind, because when we see people, we don't know what their world is or what their life is or what's going on. And I just think if everybody would treat each other with just a little more kindness, get through this whole thing. We're all tired. We're all tired. I don't care whether you had it really bad or really easy. Everybody's tired. A little kindness would go such a long way.
And you guys work with kids. I work with kids on a daily basis at after school specials, and also during distance learning when we were taking care of 15 kids that were having a hybrid situation but couldn't be at home, so they were coming to the community center, and we were trying to guide them. But it's also by example. If you're the adult, kids will see what you're doing, so smile, grin and bear it, and be there for the kids, because they're going to learn not by what you tell them, but by watching you. Children
They're
will
very
listen.
impressionable.
Right. Absolutely. And yes, Leo teaches. He taught camp all summer, arts camp, and now he's teaching after school and does amazing video, creates amazing video content with these kids. And they are so happy. There's just so much, they want to be there. And that's, I think, when I teach what I always said, I want them to like the sound of their own voice. And, whether it's singing or speaking, I want them to just say, you know what? I did okay today. That's my goal as a teacher. It's not about achieving anything in particular because I teach it in the arts. I want them to like the sound of their own voice. And I'm telling you, what a wonderful night this was. Thank you all for coming on. I feel so happy. And I feel like if we could just send this energy out into the world and multiply it, which we will do. And Andrew would tell us what that multiplication would be.
Yeah. That's not one.
And so let's just keep doing, let's, like Roberta said, let's be kind to one another. We are here every Tuesday from 9 to 10 p.m. And we love and appreciate you. So come back next Tuesday. I want to thank our guest tonight. Ariana, what's your last name?
Pietaro.
Okay. Oh, a nice Italian girl.
Yeah.
Andrew, you did good. You did good. Okay. So
Thank you.
And then Andrew Brennan, Roberta Tropper, of course, Leo Rodriguez. We love you. Thank you, everybody, for coming on. Thank you. Have a great week.
Thank you.
To